Last night, CFL tonight. Of course, our Riders are off, so we thought this is the perfect time to go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Perfect pizza, generous amount of toppings, and talk to Rider historian and legend from the Leader Post, Rob Vanstone, who's joining us. And Rob usually has a dog story to start with when you're with me. Anyways, how's the dog?
Well, I'll see if I can get her in the frame. Where is she? There she is.
Isn't right
she
on.
Cute? She's so cute. Yeah, I'm basically a week off, and I'm just spending the week enabling my entitled dog Candy this week. So whatever she wants, I'm going to do. So I may have to leave abruptly if she decides she wants to go for a walk in 2 minutes. So
yeah, it's good. It's right. It's a bye week for you as well. We're 7-1, Rob. There's obviously the excitement. You've been around this team a long time, going back to your days too at the Leader Post. Does this remind you of a year from years gone by?
The closeness of the team and the camaraderie really resonates with me. I only remember one other 7-1 Rider team, and that was the 2013 team. The previous one was, and the only other one was in 1970, and I didn't have my big football awakening until 1971. Boy, do I sound old. And so I've only got that precedent to kind of fall back on as far as 2013. But I look at the 81 team, and I think that was as close a Rider team as there has ever been. And Joe Farragelli was the head coach, and it was just a really close, fun team that found ways to pull out games in the latter stages. And I'm kind of getting that same vibe. Now, that team finished 9-7, didn't even make the playoffs, but it will always be one of my favorite Rider teams of all time, because it was just a fun team. You could tell how much they really liked playing for each other and playing for the head coach, Joe Farragelli. And I think there's sort of that same closeness and bond with Corey Mace and his staff. So I'm getting into, just in terms of the overall camaraderie, I think 81 is the best comparator I can come up with.
We saw it last week in Montreal, where maybe the team finally, term I use, kind of step on a team's throat when they got him down, and they ran him out of the barn, first quarter right till the fourth quarter. Are you, when you look at this team, was that maybe, a positive to see, obviously, from you, because it was like, we're not quite the fourth quarter, what are we doing? We seem to be almost letting some of these get away, where in Montreal they finally turned it around.
And Montreal is a forbidding territory for any team to visit, so that's a tough one. So to win there, I think is important. And I wouldn't discount the early victories, the earlier victories, or 5 of them that were close, even though I think even from the coaches on down, they'll say, well, there should have, we could have played better. There were certain stages of the game where that could have been closed out earlier. But I think the mark of a good team or a great team is one that can win when it isn't necessarily playing its best football. And I've seen teams over the years that have lost a lot of the 1-pointers, the 2-pointers, the 7-pointers, and I think it's a trait to be able to win. You look at. You can almost draw a baseball analogy, and what about the pitcher who can win when the fastball isn't 100? Maybe the fastball's 91 today. Maybe the curveball isn't crackling the way it should, but you manage to use your resourcefulness to win a game. And I think it's telling that in those close games, the Roughriders have won them. The law of averages suggests that if there's a number of close games, maybe you win half of them. Well, they've won all of them, and I think that's worth noting as well. But the emphatic nature of the victory in Montreal was noted, especially, again, the injury-related flux that's been created, especially along the offensive line and in the receiving core. The team has really been able to withstand that, and I think that's. Kean Schaefer-Baker and Samuel Emilus aren't in the lineup right now, and yet Trevor Harris has been the top-rated passer according to Pro Football Focus in 3 of the last 4 games.
Getting to the quarterback, the opposition with 4, and just consistently, and it's not always sacks, it's the pressures and the hurries and all that. Let's go there again and asking kind of the same question, your thoughts on what they're doing there and how, Coach Mace and his philosophy, along with the other coaches as well. And then does that remind you of a defensive front that we've had in the past?
Well, The Riders, through their history have had a lot of them that have been really good. The last game in Montreal, I mean, the Alouettes didn't get beyond the 46-yard line. And I make this comparison with some hesitation because it's still weak. We're just through 8 games that the Riders have played. But in 66, the second half of the Grey Cup game, the Ottawa Roughriders did not get to midfield. And look at that defensive line, and there was Ron Atchison, and there was Garner Ekstrand, and Don Gerhardt, a very underrated player, and the amazing Ed McQuarters. There have been Rider teams through the years that, I mean, in the 70s with George Wells and that whole group along the defensive line, just creating havoc for other teams. Mike Dirks and. I go back to the mid-'70s when the Riders had such a formidable offensive line. 1976, they went to the Grey Cup, and they had such a great defensive line, and they were able to rush with 4. And if they wanted to blitz, they had Van Gorey and Manchuk to do it, but they didn't need to. And in 76, the linebackers got so many interceptions between them because the Riders could rush with 4. And I think that's I'm reminded of that as I think out loud here.
That people are going to love those throwback names. I'm born in 77, but I still remember some of the names. Obviously, no, it's 77, great.
The year Bill Baker returned to the Rider defensive line.
Rider historian Rob Vanstone is with us here on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Receivers, you mentioned, Keane, Schaefer, Baker, Sam Emelis out. We knew, I think a lot of us, what Dante Myers could probably do, even with the shortened season last year. Let's start with Dante and then just go through the receiving core and how it's been kind of by committee, which is nice to see.
It really has been. And there's, different players have taken turns with 100-yard games. And, Joe Robustelli stepping up as he has with that monster game earlier this year. And Dante Myers is an interesting story because during the offseason, there was some chatter about, do the Riders necessarily have that explosive receiver that they need? And it was interesting because just hearing the chatter internally, the suspicion and the sentiment was that Dante Myers could be that guy. All he needed was to be able to play more than he did last year when injuries curtailed his season after such an impressive start. And we're seeing Dante Myers take even more steps now. I mean, he's had 100+ yards in 3 straight road games, and the team record is 4. And we go back to the 1981 Roughriders and Joey Walters when that record was set. And he's played so well overall, but especially on the road, he's got all 4 of his touchdowns in road games. And we're just seeing the chemistry that he has with Trevor Harris, and you saw it on some of the images that you were showing. And I think one of the key plays in the game against Montreal was the opening kickoff. Dante Myers takes it back 46 yards to Montreal's 54. Yeah. Riders marched 10 plays for a touchdown. Brett Lother's convert turned out to be the deciding point, and that was the first drive of the game. And so that Dante Myers kickoff return, in addition to what he did through the air, I mean, he had a kickoff return exceeding 46 yards, and he had 136 receiving yards in the same game. The only player to do that in the same game in Rider history was Bobby Thompson on October 24th, 1971, when the Riders beat BC 50-18. And the only player in Rider history with a 46-yard kickoff return or more and a 58-yard reception or more was Bobby Thompson in that same October 24th, 1971 game, when he had a 115-yard kickoff return and caught a 97-yard touchdown bomb from Ronnie. So that's the kind of impact that he's making, not only as a receiver, but as a returner as well. Sorry for the inundation of numbers. This is what I do during a bye week.
What did you think?
I feed a dog, I walk a dog, and I get into numbers.
What did you think of the movie Rain Man?
I haven't seen it.
Come on, Robbie.
Honestly, I haven't seen Star Wars, and which maybe was quite a big deal in grade 8 when I was in high school. We had high school in grade 8 back then, and my entire class has seen Star Wars, and I hadn't. And that's where I learned the meaning of the word ostracism. And
That's
no, I'm not familiar with Rain Man, but I'm so old. I only go to silent movies. There's an orchestra in the front of the theater.
oh yeah.
So.
You got to watch it because when you're rattling off numbers like that, it kind of reminds me. Speaking of reminds me, who is Trevor Harris reminiscent of through Rob Vanstone's eyes?
I see a lot of Ronnie there, with fewer interceptions.
Yeah. Even league wide, even not just Riders, like league wide.
That's Trevor came into the league and Ricky Ray was in Toronto, and I think he learned so much from Ricky, and just the cerebral nature that he plays. He's absolutely unruffled by anything. He's just so calm. His demeanor really doesn't change. If he throws a pick, okay, that's part of football. I'll come back and I'll throw a touchdown pass the next series. And I think coming into the league, having Ricky Ray as that example, and I think Trevor was already established himself as that kind of player when he was at Edinburgh University. And but I just demeanor wise, I see so much comparison there, because just there's nothing you can put in front of him that's going to faze him. And it's like watching someone with working on a PhD in passing every game. And that is, again, that takes me back to the master, Ron Lancaster. And I feel like I'm watching a master at work when I watch Trevor Harris. And, I'm constantly updating when the Riders are playing, Trevor's rankings in terms of all-time yardage, all-time completions, all-time touchdown passes. And when I was growing up, every time Ronnie threw a pass, he set a CFL record. Every time George ran the ball, he set a record. And we're seeing, Trevor move up those lists systematically in somewhat the same fashion that I followed Ronnie as a kid. The whole theme of this is that I'm very old. I'm almost 40.
What about the West, Robin? What are you seeing? What are you making of this? Nathan Rourke again within a shootout last night, but BC hasn't looked stellar. Yeah, another high. I should have taken the over, even though the first half I would have been kicking myself. Winnipeg, there's rumblings, not for me, but some people are saying I think it's kind of on the last few shots there on the 18th hole for Winnipeg, and then Calgary was lights out. And then have they come back to earth now, but VA's back. What are you just making of the West?
I don't discount anybody in this division. I think it's such a strong division. And even the Elks, you look at their record. But the way they have played, especially with Cody Fajardo behind center, I think that's a team that could be a really tough out for a lot of opponents down the stretch. Calgary, the Riders saw what Calgary can do when they were here, and with Vernon Adams Jr., they're such a formidable team. And BC, they've been a bit of a mystery at times this year, not only I think to observers, but to the coaching staff as well. We've heard some frustration, but we've also I think the reason for that frustration is you see what that team can do when Nathan Rourke is cooking. And that is what we saw last night against Hamilton. What a wonderful game that was. And Winnipeg, a year ago at this time, people were kind of writing off the Bombers, and there they were in a fifth straight Grey Cup in November. And, and they've managed to keep their heads above water despite a lot of injuries. And once Zach gets back and gets on a roll, you can't rule them out. I just think every game against a West opponent is going to have so much importance and create so much excitement this year. And that's not, again, I'll go back to 1981 where the Riders were 9-7, didn't make the playoffs. And Calgary was fifth in the West and had more wins than Ottawa, which got to the Grey Cup. That's the kind of West I think we have this year, just in terms of caliber.
I'm just looking up, guess what the number one movie was in 1981?
Boy, Porky's?
No, Cannonball Run would have been close to.
Oh, Cannonball Run.
Raiders of the Lost Ark was number one, followed by another real tearjerker right in the feels, On Golden Pond. So,
boy, it wasn't until
Superman 2.
There was a Dudley Moore movie that was really big that year. There was a Christopher Cross song that was a theme of it. Oliver's no. Boy,
Chariots of Fire?
No, what was it? I don't know. The Cannonball Run was such a classic. The doctor in that movie was absolutely hysterical. I love those Burt Reynolds. Let's just write the script in 10 minutes and have a hit movie. Things.
Let my mustache do the work.
What's that?
Let my mustache do the work, Burt said.
Absolutely. Those things were hysterical. Burt Reynolds, when he went to university, one of his best friends was a receiver named Bob Wren, who ended up playing for the Roughriders in the late 50s, early 60s. How's that for Burt Reynolds trivia?
Oh, my.
Burt Reynolds mentioned Bob Wren in his autobiography. They were that close.
Wow. Look at this. This is so, Robbie, we could go on for a long bit. Okay, have fun in your last couple of days of the bye week and walking your dog and doing all that. And, I always appreciate you hopping on here.
Oh, thanks so much, Barney. And thanks for giving me a reason to validate all this wallowing in the past I've been doing during the bye week. I hope I wasn't too annoying.
Hey, try and watch Rain Man this weekend.
Well, what's the deal with? I've heard of this movie forever.
He just remembered. He's you got to watch it. Just your memory of numbers. Your memory of numbers is the only thing that kind of reminds me.
Well, my wife makes fun of me because I can recite these types of numbers, but then I don't know where I put my keys.
See, I'm in a
Where's my keys? Where's my wallet?
I'm in a relationship like that. You remember what from how many years ago? But no, I don't know where the keys are. Okay, thanks so much, Rob. That is Rider historian Rob Vanstone joining us here.